Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to what is arguably the home of Monday night racing here on F1 2022. It's, of course, CRL Tier number 4, season number 8, round number 12. And we are coming to you live from the streets of the Marina Bay circuit here in Singapore. Of course, a very, very historic track in the new age since. The first ever circuit to host a night race and a track full of controversy and events. 2008, who can forget Crashgate, the circumstances under the safety cars, and of course that big incident in 2017 down to turn number 1. It certainly is a track that's lived up to infamy on the real F1 circuit, and it's done a little bit of that in CRL over the course of the seasons. The big event being, of course, always sticks in my mind. I think I was lucky enough, if I remember right, I was in the comms box for it. Mr. Nathan himself getting it completely wrong on the tyre compounds. Those that were in the chat that day will never forget the mistakes made there, but there is plenty of time for more history to be etched into the cornerstone that is CRL. 31 laps await us around this circuit. 3.0 miles long, 4.9 kilometres. 31 laps in the race. But before all that, we have 18 minutes of qualifying. 19 cars here on the grid tonight. Last week's winner, of course, Tomo Tiptop in the Alfa Romeo, sadly having to pull out pretty late on. He won't be starting this Grand Prix tonight. His teammate, though, is back after an absence, and his teammate isn't just any teammate. It's the championship leading teammate of SUFC. He has a 17-point lead over Mark Wilson, who picked up a very respectable P2. He looked one of the quicker drivers, but just second to only Tomo Tiptop. Was third on the initial race results, but I think we did mention it a little bit last week, saying that there was a 3-second penalty maybe in the offering to be looked in by the stewards, and I'm glad to say, maybe for him, maybe not for some others, glad to say that that hasn't been overturned, and thankfully for his sake, up to P2 and a few more points gained. Really helping to spice up this championship battle as we get into the business end. 5 rounds left to go, including tonight. The first of those 5, of course, being here tonight in Singapore. We're on board then with the championship leader, SUFC 69, as he takes us around the 23 corner, like I said, 4.9 kilometre, 3 mile long circuit here in Singapore. A very tricky track, it must be said, for our drivers, and indeed I'm going to give myself a little shout here for the comm team tonight. It is a long circuit, you know, qualifying times a low 38, maybe a high 37. I might be slightly wrong in them numbers, it might be one or the other, you know, a little bit lower. And maybe a second the difference if I'm underestimating our driver's performance here tonight. But that's roughly what we're expecting here for pole times. Race times, of course, going to be a little bit higher than that. Seems to be a little bit of traffic getting caught up here for SUFC. That Mercedes in front, I'm not going to quite sure if it is Mean Man Moody. Now, the thing here is, Mean Man Moody is perfectly entitled to be on this lap. He is on a flying lap. SUFC just maybe not quite predicting the difference in speed between the two cars, although Moody looks to be on a very slow one that might end up in the reports. Personally, I think it is pretty legal and pretty alright. Moody does put the first time in a 42.6. SUFC, you can see, marginally quicker with a 39.8. Hasbro, the third car, putting it on. He's a new full-time driver in that Aston Martin IRT Connects, stepping down, and just as I give him his first little bit of limelight as a full-time driver, he loses it on the exit of turn 3/turn 4, just on the entry to the Republic Boulevard. Not moving the car yet, not quite sure what's going on there with the little man. IR Marshall, or I Am Marshall, as he's now known, in the Ferrari, rounding that final corner, gets a validation. That was I'm not quite sure why that was for. Anyway, we'll see maybe a little bit of that later on, a little bit more of that, because it's a street circuit, it's tight, it's twisty, and it's a 142 for Spider Rob around that tight and twisty. Lap time's flying in here, folks. You might have guessed already, I'm here myself once again, just myself. Don't even think I introduced it. CRL Freefall Scotty, you all know that by now. You hear this daft Scottish accent, you already know that it's me. Lap time's flying all over the place, I'm missing them left, right and centre. Murphy, a 39.8, Wuban, a 39.9. Trunders, a 140.0, apparently not picked up the game in about 3 weeks, so... what a way to come back, what a circuit to come back and jump back in. Curly, a 40.8. Mighty Am, a 42.1. And Moody, we already seen a 42.6. Let's get on board then with last week's P2. He, of course, was battling it out right to the end with Victor Mean, who is, of course, still in the championship battle. The Scotsman picking P3 and fastest lap last week. He's 32 points off the top of the leaderboard. Now, 31 available tonight. That's a race and a little bit more of a gap. That, of course, is assuming that he scores full points, gets fastest lap, and FGFC, and potentially even Mark, or, Mark scoring very little points. But it could get very tight at the end of this. AFL, IR Marshall, Wiban, Topher, Curley, Trundos, and Scooter Claim round off the top 10. Only 6 of those drivers, though, in the 100 club. Wuban being the last of those in the Haas 117, and a few other drivers like ITNX was at the bottom, of course, needing to pick up some points. Is only going to do so as a reserve going forward. I'm not quite sure. I don't have the tally to hand. Hasbulla just getting appointed to his full-time seat very, very recently, and by recently I mean within a matter of hours, so I don't know how he fits in. This man, though, AFL, is our P4. He's 40 points behind P3 Victor Mean, 72 off the top, so he's got a little bit more than 2 races worth of work to do in the next 5. Of course, there is a sprint race in amongst those, so a little bit more points to gain, but it's really, it must be said, it's starting to look like a 3-horse race. We'd had an inclination for the last few weeks that it was going to go down to these 3 of SUFC, Mark Wilson, Victor Mean. SUFC missing a few rounds has let the Mark Wilson and Victor Mean close in, and those 2 have really been honing their craft in the last few weeks and getting mighty quick, picking up a mighty haul of points, and it is up there maybe with going back to, I think it was season 5 of Hedgehog 11 and AFL batting it out, and again J Wells season 4 batting it out with Millsy. Millsy taking the championship that season. Remember, I raced 3 races that season in Tier 4 and had the second most amount of poles. J Wells seemed to dominate in qualifying. He was always up there in the race until he wasn't, and these missing races, DNF, and they can really hurt you, so we'll wait and see. While I was waffling on though, what a lap by the Scotsman in the Mercedes. Mercedes not historically known to be very good around this circuit. Well, Victor Mean putting that bed to rest tonight, a 38.1. He has been incredibly quick with his qualifying pace, especially in the last few weeks. Race pace, he's starting to convert that across, and definitely looking at a competitor for Tier 3, maybe even Tier 2 come next season. Of course, next season will be on the new game, so this whole grid could be absolutely top to tail. As you can see, Tier 1 drivers dropping down, Tier 4 drivers shooting up, and everything in between mixing and matching. Mark Wilson then, while I was rambling on there, he put in a 1:40.044, not 0044, to put that Red Bull in P5. Couple of tenths off P2, but needs to find 1.9 seconds to get up there with Victor Mean. Topher then in the Ferraris, giving him a little bit of love here tonight during qualifying. Whether he'll love or hate that, it's one of those circuits, generally speaking, as a driver, you always love to get a bit of camera light on you, a little bit of commentary fun on your lap. But a high pressure circuit like this, maybe not, it'll highlight any mistakes, and those mistakes are very costly. A 1:40.383 sees him go provisional P8 at the moment, so a very decent lap. It must be said though, Victor Mean, the cream of the crop at the moment. That lap time I think would have put him around about P3, P4 potentially in Tier 3. Their lap time, those lap times pretty much in with the high end of Tier tier 3, so yeah, I'm mighty impressed. The Maverick crossed the line in 1:48 because he's on an outlap, so we're never going to find anything. Victamine in the comments saying, check my files. This might be, I know, hard to believe, this might be me being incredibly stupid, I know. Not like me, of course, folks, not at all. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Check your files. Pass. I will pass that. And of course, Daniel Buers. I'm terrible with names. Some of the boys in the party, I'm doing a Leroy there. Some of the boys in the party will tell you that I couldn't even pronounce stamina earlier on. I was calling it stamina, or something to that like, and so you know me with names. But Daniel, brilliant to have you once again. You definitely get the award for tier 4 for best viewer and most consistent viewer. Lovely to have you back again. Great to see you back in the comments. And I must admit, it must be a good season so far in the Wilson household. Plenty to celebrate. Let's hope for a little bit more here tonight. The Maverick in the Williams end. We're riding on board with him as he shoots down Esplanade Drive. Yes, of course, street circuit here. They've all got a little bit of funky road names. I'm going to try and keep my best to sort of marionate the corner names and the street names. Victor, he said, check that. I get you now. Check your files. I swear you're not hacking. Listen, if you put the practice round about Singapore, you put the time and effort in, you can achieve lap times that are flying. And my man, your qualifying times have been flying. The Maverick then rounding 22 and 23 up to the line goes P11 with a 1:41.607. Time to improve for the little Greek driver in the league. I believe he is actually our only Greek driver in the league as he goes for a little pirouette out of turn 3. And I'm going to give the man a shout out. I think it would be a shame not to. Singapore, do we have any hometown drivers, you might be thinking? Well, of course we do. It's Isaac Kush in tier 1. Those that know him know that he is an absolute menace, but he is the de facto home Grand Prix driver here in Singapore. I am Marshall. I'm just going to call him Marshall to avoid any confusion, confirmation. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. 1:39.262 anyway. P2 for the Ferrari. I can tell you a little secret. He wasn't feeling too confident going into this race, but P2 at the moment, a solid lap there. We've got Mercedes coming through the final sector. Of course, a final sector that this should be. Now, let's not get our hopes up. But of course, plan changes coming to the Singapore Grand Prix. I believe this year, maybe next year. We might see that reflected in the 23 game. Maybe not, as Mean Moody jumps up to 1:41.258, puts him in P13. But that third sector, it's going from a 23 corner circuit to, I believe, a 17 or a 19 corner circuit, as we have our first retiremento of the Naito. I don't know why I'm speaking like that. I would just put a little bit of flair on the old commentary to keep me sane for what's going to be a long couple of hours. But he is out on the exit of turn 13. That's not my street map I've got on. The laptop is doing its own little thing. Oh, I've completely lost my good street map. Oh, I had all the street names and everything. I could have told you what drive it was and what corner it was and who was there and who invented it and who laid the paving slabs for it. Oh, that's not so good. Who knows, I might be able to find it. Well, don't worry about that, I don't need a street song. Oh, there you go, this one looks quite good. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, that's lovely. Anyway, HFC rounded the final corner, does improve by 1.4 seconds, but it isn't enough to dethrone Victor Mean, who says, you know what, let's make that purple lap time a little bit more purple. 1:37.826. I can tell you for a fact that would be P2 in tier 3 as Victor Mean. Oh, the drama kicks off in Singapore early tonight. Victor Mean, he's put it on provisional pole, not just once, not just twice, but he's rounded turn 3, and he has met the unturned car, the upturned, the round turn, the spun around scooter climb in 10 in the Alpine. And that is a DNF in qualifying, second of the night. Third if we count BX37 Pro, who is serving a quali ban. But that is a big one, and that shows that ghosting, although it does help us in so many ways, it is not perfect. And dare I say it, that could be some kind of foreshadowing for the race where we may see a very, very similar incident. Spider Rob, I don't know if he's on a lap here. 3% ERS. That red light is blinking. He is not on a lap. Let's get a bit of lub to lub. What's a lub? A little bit of love to a good friend of mine. I've known him for a number of seasons. I joined him at the same time. Joined CRL, sorry, at the same time as this man. It is, of course, Ghost Angel 1, our oldest driver, I believe, in the division. Although that might have been dethroned, as we do have, I believe it's JR or CR Mason reserving in Tier 3, one of our older members, and showing, like Ghost Angel, like Mean Moody, and, you know, if I'm talking about age, it wouldn't be a joke for us if I didn't mention Murphy, that it's not just a young man's game. I mean, I'm creeping on myself, 25 going on 26. I can't keep it up with these 16, 17, 18-year-olds who sit about all day and play the game. Shout out to you, Leroy. That's exactly what you are. But he is showing that age is well and truly just a number when it comes to performance here in CRL. A legend in the community, it must be said. And great to see him. You might think Tier 4, P12. It's a tricky track, and I can tell you for a fact this man has improved. He's went from drifting at the back of the field to being a real midfield and upper part of the midfield at times competitor. But speaking of growing, Hasbulla has not done that much of that if he's compared to his real life compatriot. Of course, that's just in a physical sense. Those that know me will know I'm not really much in a position to comment on that. But let's see how little Hasbulla does as he approaches round through the old Singapore sling into the Anderston Bridge and then up across the Esplanade Bridge, I believe it is called. I don't know if it's a bridge anymore. It used to be a bridge, but a little bit like the Dutch, I think they've been doing a little bit of land reclamation. That's the word, isn't it? The Maverick, another to retire. That looks to just be in the pits. Can't see anything on track indicating otherwise. However, you know, we all know my eyes ain't the best. There can be a few mistakes here and there, especially when you're doing this on the own. But Hasbulla rounding those final few corners. Again, another bit to watch out for in validation. He does improve, but a grand total of 0.004 for those not in the know. But it is just inside the 141 ones now, and a couple of attempts. He could be mixing it up on the peripherals of the top 10. What a battle, though, we have got on. Very much similar to last week. The P5 to P9 battle raging on. Is Murphy on a lap time? Yes, he is, my good friend Murphy, and he looks to be up on his time. Coming down into Cognac, turn number 14. 7.5 tenths up is Murphy boy, as qualifying does finish up. I didn't even catch that. I believe Mark Wilson just finished his final lap time of 140.044. SUFC won't improve on his lap time. P2 best for him. Spider Rob best P5. Ghost Angel, Scooter Claim, DS Baker and Mighty Autumn all still to improve as Trundles jumps up to P3 with a 1:39.234. How can Murphy do, though? Rounding these final few corners, where can old man Murph put it on the grid? It is P3 with a 1:38.671. Still a second off of P1, and he is in P3. Next up is an Aston Martin. That's my man Hasbulla coming through pardon me, the third sector. It looks as if he's up in his time there, but it's easy 6 tenths up. He's obviously not, judging by that time in the top left. So we're going to swiftly move away to a man that probably is up on a lap time. He was, but he is now invalidated, so never mind. Marshall then is our next round in the final corner. Goes P2 with a 1:38.259. Still 4 tenths of Victor Mean in P1. And this has been, I don't know about you folks, this has been an absolutely rapid qualifying. Was it 18 minutes or was it just 8 minutes? I genuinely could not tell you. Maybe that's part and parcel to me doing my quote-unquote waffling. But final lap of the night then goes to Mr. Wuban in the Haas. And I can tell you for a fact it's going to be a slow one into the 2-minute mark and might even end up in the pits. Yes, it does. So that is all she wrote for qualifying. Victor Mean takes pole position by 4.3 tenths, 0.433 seconds. Wow, what a lap from him. Just over a tenth separates IR Marshall, just Marshall, to SUFC in third. Murphy, 3 tenths off fourth, or 0.8, sorry, off the lead is in P4, and then it's 1.4 seconds off the lead to P5 for Trundles. Then the grid tightens up. It really does. A little bit, it must be said. The next three, Trundles, Wuban and Spider-Rob, all within 1.5 tenths, 0.15 of a second. Then we have another, a marginal gap, shall we call it, of about 7 tenths back to another pack in that battle. That is, of course, AFL, Mark Wilson and Topher, all within a tenth and a half of each other. So looking at this board then, you can see we've got the battle for first, which Victor Mean has defeated himself to take. The battle for P2, Marshall, HFC and Murphy all within 4 tenths, shall we say, of each other. Then a 6-tenth gap back to Trundles, Wuban, Spider-Rob in that battle for 5 to 7. AFL, Mark, Wilson and Topher, the battle for the remainder of the top 10. And then we get the rest of the pack. We'll quickly run through. Curly, Ghost Danger 1, Scooter Clem picks up a 5, plays grid penalty as well for that incident with Victor Mean. Hasbulat, Mean Moody, DS Baker, Maverick, The Mighty Adam and BX37 Pro Ben rounds off our qualifying performances. Victor Mean indeed. We've seen it. You've called it yourself. I was just about to get on it. We've seen something very, very similar in Baku, of course. Victor Mean putting it on pole by, I think it was 8 tenths that time, and retirement around the street circuit by the end of lap 1. History is doomed to repeat to those that do not learn from it. This is your chance, Victor. Have you learned from the failures of, not failures, that's maybe a bit mean, but the trauma, the ups, the you know what I mean, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, are you going to do a Baku again, or have you improved a little bit on that race etiquette, that race pace, or around about the street circuits? Well, we'll find out, because we've got 31 laps plus a formation lap around the streets of Singapore before we will find who takes the Tomo Tip Top spot on the podium. Yep, I had to get his name in. Last week's winner, of course, not here tonight, but he did take Tomo Tip Top spot on the podium. But that leaves for another chance for another winner here tonight. FGFC will be looking to extend his gap at the top. Mark Wilson and Victor Mean, the chasing pack, it must be said, looking to pull in a little bit more of that advantage. And the likes of AFL and Marshall really looking to cement one final chance to pull themselves into this championship battle for the last few rounds of this season. Suppose that's all there really is, as much as I can waffle on. Sometimes this is what happens. Sometimes I get something and I think, do I need to read this? Is it important? Is it crucial to the race? And I sort of we'll wait and see. But yeah, 2 seconds to go and we'll get the formation lap going. Sorry, I'm in the middle of reading something here. I'm just something I've had to attend to very, very quickly. I'll do this while the formation lap gets underway. We'll get the tyre info coming up, and hopefully by the end of this, I'll quickly sort this out. And quite the mix there, folks. But I suppose it's a nice little break for my voice before what is sure to be 31 laps and probably about 2.5 hours with potential rain and safety cars of action. I will see you in about 37 seconds. Why not? I hope you two won't. I've ruined that comeback, but I hope you aren't too lonely without me. We are back, of course, after that quick little break. Quick little recharge, a quick little 10-2, and the final corners are being rounded by the leaders. BX37 Pro just coming to the end of the second sector. He'll need to get a move on. Of course, none of these cars on the grid will lose any tyre attempts while we wait for Ben and the rest of the pack to come around and line up in their grid spots. And I suppose it gives me a chance to quickly go through these lovely coloured circles on the left of your screen. Victor Mean then on pole starts off in the hards. Murphy NP4 joins him alongside Spider Rob AFL, Mark Wilson 7, 8 and 9 respectively. Ghost Angel 1 and 12 before a 4-car pack of Baker, Maverick, Mighty Atom, Scooter Clem and not BX37 Pro though, discount him, all on the hards. The rest of the pack then on mediums P2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 11, 14 and 19. You might have noticed I missed out 13 there. It's Hasbla on the softs. Keep an eye on him. They'll degrade hard, but he'll be rapid on this first stint as we get 5 red lights in Singapore. And it is lights out. Oh, pardon me. And away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. SFC getting a rapid start. Jumps ahead of Marshall. Murphy losing out to Trundles. Victor Means holds the lead. Trundles and Murphy going side by side then through 2 and into 3. Murphy keeping the inside. Trundles gonna get the inside now through 4 and then into 5. You can see FUFC in front going for a move as Murphy holds it around the outside, and I think for the most part maybe some front wing damage here and there what we might have missed. Nobody seems to have been catastrophically finished. As I say that, it is a virtual safety car. DS Baker looks to be the one involved in that incident at the back. The Haas dropping down a few positions, serving memory right. BX37 Pro up from 19 to 11. He's had a rapid first sector and a little respite for the drivers in the first stage here of this Grand Prix as the virtual safety car comes out, neutralises all of the deltas, all of the pace differentials, and now it's all about managing that delta, making sure you don't get a drive through. Trust me, I know that myself. I picked up one late in Hungary while reserving there and it ruined my chances at a good points finish. It's not something you want, so stick to that delta, lads. Keep that car going at a steady pace and don't do anything silly, which looks like Ben has done. Maybe a half spin, a full spin of some sort of spin, because he's dropped down 2 positions. The Mighty Atom and Scooter Clem also mixing about, the 2 Alpines chopping and changing. This has been a mighty, not a Mighty Atom, it's been a mighty long safety car, or virtual safety car at least. So hopefully as we enter lap number 2 we'll get racing once again. It would be nice if the game gave us a sort of indication of maybe what the deltas were like, or even like it does the drive, you know, safety car, virtual safety car ending soon. Instead, we just get that exactly. The map going green and the green flags are waving. Apologies for that cough there. That could be the first of many tonight. You know me, I hate dead air, I hate still air. I like to keep the volume going as Murphy, no, Murphy having a spin on the exit of 2 and 3 on lap number 2. He has completely lost it, done a full pirouette. That McLaren seems to be a one piece. The hards on the rims, though, they're going to be roasted, they're going to be hot and humid, similar to the climate here in Singapore. Hot and humid, of course, the name of the game when it comes to the tyres and the weather around here. It is pretty much it's all about keeping these tyres cool and keeping them alive while you can and when you need them to be. You know, Hasbro on the softs, we expect them to be rapid, but those softs are going to deteriorate so quick with just, you know, the amount of lateral forces going through the tyres, with the amount of heat going through the tyres. It's really going to wreak havoc on his tyre wear, and give it maybe 5, 6, 7 laps, they could be screaming for a pit stop. And the hards and mediums pretty much in a similar situation, you know, that none of the tyres feel amazingly great round here for the drivers, and it is going to be a lot about managing them and keeping them in an operable zone. We're going to jump ahead to this battle at the front then while I waffle on about that, because we have a tyre advantage, a tyre difference between our race leader and the next 4 behind him. SUFC, the first of those four on the mediums, chasing down Victor Mean in the Mercedes. SUFC putting in a marginally better fastest lap as Victor Mean takes to the inside to try and defend into turn one. DRS now enable the first instance of that. Will be down into the Raffles Boulevard, down into Memorial Corner. And as we can see already, SUFC is going to get it. He's got Marshall tight behind. Let's jump on board with Barry. In fact, no, we're going to jump on board with the Alpha Romeo once again of SUFC using that DRS. He's already on 33% ERS. Almost pushes the Mercedes around turn number 7 of Memorial Corner into Stanford before the long, the short straight, sorry, of between 8 and 9 Stanford Road. And then 9 is, of course, I believe it is Pandang. A lot of these corners are named after the stadiums. Not the stadiums, the stands, there we go, that's the word, that sits alongside them. So you might hear a few repetitions across then the Anderson Bridge, 13, and then up Esplanade Drive, up towards 14 of Cognac. I believe it is Cognac, an alcoholic beverage. Very, very interesting for a country that doesn't even like chewing gum to name a corner after some alcohol. But I won't go there. I won't mention that. Is that you can explain that one to me at some point, pal, if you are listening. It's a big, big F for our little Izzat. The only man in the CRL that makes me look tall. Love you really, pal. Victor Mean, though, getting a little bit loosey-goosey on the exit of 19 and into 20 as Hasbullah has, I was going to try and make a joke there, has Spinal, I don't know. He's had a spin anyway and dropped him down. SUFC, was there contact there? That was a really little bit weird one. Closed right up, and then gave a little bit of a wiggle. The wiggles, of course, typically used by drivers as a form of shaking the head disapproval. I do not like what you just did there, son. We'll wait and see. Victor Mean doing a lot better on the ERS front, it must be said. 45% advantage for him as Trundles and Marshall go side by side through 7, and Trundles getting the better exit, the better traction around the outside, makes a move up into P3. Mark Wilson jumps ahead of Wuban because Wuban has had at least a half spin. I don't think we saw him go into the wall there. I think he's kept the Haas in one piece going forward, going straight line, and can settle back in to P6. A gap though forming in these front 6. Of course, the 2.3 second gap from Wuban's spin, and then 4 seconds to the nearest car behind. I'll try and jump to that battle when I can, but ultimately all eyes for this race and the next 4. They're going to be in Victor Mean, they're going to be in SUFC, and they're going to be in Mark Wilson. Do you know when you talk that much that you tire yourself out when you have the on? I get it, I don't know about you, and we're going to go off on a little tangent here. I get it when I do karaoke, when I get a few babies in me down the boozer on a Friday, Saturday night. I get halfway through a song and I start yawning. And similar thing just happened there, so I'm going to apologise for that tonight. That's what happens when you do this yourself at times. SUFC then is going to try once again down into turn 1 on the rear of the Mercedes of Victor Mean. He looks to the inside, pulls back on to the slipstream, you could almost call it, and cast the settle back in once again. Victor Mean maybe running a little bit more of a straight liney setup, I suppose you could call it. Topher and BX37 Pro battling out further down as Murphy makes a move on Ghost Angel 1 down through the pack. We're still on board then with SUFC as he tries and fails once again. So apologies folks, this might be an ongoing issue tonight. I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to stop apologising for it and just roll with it, because nobody likes a commentator that just says, oh, sorry this, sorry that. But yeah, MCSC not able to make the move on Victor Mean once again, and Trundles and Marshall and Mark Wilson, if he can edge that Red Bull a little bit closer back into the ERS range of the cars in front, and we're getting a tier 1 patented DRS train. And what we don't see it often here, I must admit, tier 4 tends to be the grid that spreads out the most. They ache out the most. They find gaps where gaps maybe wouldn't be in other tiers. But what happens then in a DRS train? Well, The car at the front is the fastest of the cars at the moment. He is leading the pack. He does not have DRS because nobody is in front of him. So he is at a straight line pace disadvantage. Now, that's especially key to think when maybe an instance like this, Victor Means running a lower downforce setup. He's probably going to be about the same straight line speed. He definitely is. You can see how much more pace SUFC carries around that final couple of corners. Mark Wilson definitely getting back into DRS there with that fastest lap. Anyway, what will happen here is it's much easier for maybe if they're running very similar setups, particularly what you see in Tier 1, most of them running fairly similar, for P2 to overtake P1, and then P2, which was P1, overtakes again. It's hard for P3 to make a move in P2 when they both get DRS because there is no pace differential along the straights. And on a circuit like this especially, where it is tight, it's technical, it's all about being consistent. Overtaking points are at a premium, so it's going to be even harder. But I am G'd up, I am ready. We've got a 5-car DRS train here at the moment. Now, it is a hard, it's a medium sandwich and hard bread, you could call it. A hard at the front, a hard at the back. That's maybe contributing to it. It's brilliant if your name is Mark Wilson, of course, because these mediums, they're struggling to get past Victor Mean. We've seen it already with FUFC. He's starting to fall into the clutches and going to battle it out with Trundles. Mark Wilson on the hards, Victor Mean on the hards. Well, they can conserve these hards a little bit more, particularly Mark Wilson. He can conserve ERS and such. And, as I'm saying that, there's a big one in the background. Marshall losing it on the exit of 12. Mark Wilson, like we've seen in qualifying with Victor Mean, gets tangled up under the lack of ghost, and that's going to be a front wing for the Red Bull, and maybe even a little bit more front wing, rear wing for the Ferrari. Saviour though for Mark Wilson though, it is a safety car. Curley drive through for speeding under the safety car. FUFC into the pits, Trundles into the pits, and this just throws what I was about to speak about completely out of proportion, completely out of whack. It does not matter. Don't listen to a thing I was telling you just 2 seconds ago. Oh, this changes things up then, folks. Safety car number 1 of the night. Of course, no official sanctioned F1 race around here in Singapore. That's of course just been since 2008. Has seen a race go by without a safety car, and Tier 4 here tonight in CRL is going to join it. We've got a myriad of pit stops, as you might expect. Trundle's then going to come out in P6 with a fresh set of hards. He's jumped SUFC. He must have. I wonder if there was some minor wing damage on that Alfa Romeo, causing an extended pit stop for him. Wuban then on to the hards. Mark Wilson wasn't on the hards. He's onto the mediums. They're going to struggle to make it to the end, but we've had one. We might even have another. Who knows? It kind of drops him a little bit to the back of that pack, and it gives him maybe a chance to push through some slower cars, and that always makes drama when you've got drivers that are in the bottom half of the pack are now up in the top half, and there's a pace differential because there's different tyres and different lives, and it just gets a little bit mental, and we absolutely we love that. But P8 all the way down to P16 on fresh tyres, 2 of them on mediums, the rest on hards. 17, 18, 19 had a few spins and I believe a pit stop already. So they're on slightly older mediums. And then we have 6 of the top 7, Mighty Atom in P7, and then all the top 5, they're on 6, about to be 7 lap old hards. I'd be surprised if we see any of them pit. They've got the really kind of now. They made their choice by not pitting at the start of that lap. So they are really going to settle in for the long haul here, and it's going to spice up this race. Trundles has got 5 cars in front of him that maybe for the most part, if you discount Victor Mean, Spider Rob and Murphy, Ghost Danger 1 Maverick and Mighty Atom is mine. They qualified in the bottom half of the pack, I do believe. Murphy, Spider Rob and Victor Mean, they're a little bit quicker than are up there with a similar pace. With the likes of Trundles, SUFC and Wuban and Mark Wilson, of course, so it just makes that whole different pace differential. David Link in the comments, is this a PC league? Sadly not, my friend. It is a PS4/5 league. We have looked at the option of maybe trying a bit of crossplay because you know, opens up a lot more opportunities. I would love it to go crossplay. I could switch my commentary over to the PC side and go back to maybe a bit more dedicated graphics like you used to know in the old days once I get my PC sorted out. But sadly at the moment, just PS3. PS3? Oh, show my age here. PS4/PS5. Hopes to one day go into crossplay if it gets fixed out next year, but answers on a postcard with that. So I suppose the short answer is no. How did I rambled out a quick question into that. Sadly though, no. Maybe in the future is I suppose the correct answer. There. That's why I need a co-commentator, folks, because I could just talk. I could talk the lugs off a bit I would. That's not even a Scottish phrase. I just made that up. Anyway, we're on lap 8 out of 31 here in Singapore. First safety car of the night, and may not be the last. The dark skies of the Singapore night, though, they're looking pretty clear, so no threat of rain on the immediate horizon. Nobody has notified me of that, and I suppose while this is slowly drifting around the circuit, it becomes in the final, it'll come in at the end of the lap as they go through the final sector. Victor Mean, of course, will set the pace. While he does that, let's talk about the Constructors' Championship. I don't think I mentioned it last week. Ferrari then are top of the pops, 801 points, 7 points ahead of Alpine and 794. Alfa Romeo 29 off the top with 772. Then it's Aston Martin, Red Bull, Mercedes all in the 700 club. Haas with 636, Williams with 609. And then McLaren and AlphaTauri both struggling, it must be said, 517 and 403. Remember, that's a combined championship with all 4 tiers, all 8 drivers, plus reserves mixing into that. So, yeah, it's a battle across the tiers, and the battle raging on at the top. Victor Mean then gets us underway with green flag racing. He has set the pace, and he has went pretty damn early, it must be said, trying to catch the drivers out behind. Ghost Angel 1 dropping a second as things stands to Murphy, and that may give a little chance for the front three to drift away. Of course, yellow flag safety car, we are back to as if it's the race start. No DRS for the first few laps here tonight, folks, or the first few laps on this restart. Like always, as Topher jumps Curly, Trundles makes the first of his overtakes on his fresh set of hards. He'll be able to just about stretch them out to the end. FUFC jumping ahead in the background, though. Mikey Atom going for a spin. I thought there was a little bit coming together. I don't know, there might have been an instant I didn't quite catch that. Mark Wilson then going around the outside of Wuban into turn 7. This is for a true track position. These both on a similar strategy, although Mark Wilson having to make the one stop with that wing damage, likely to have to stop again on the mediums. His race now, it's shifted from being on the hards versus the mediums, getting held up and being able to stretch long and try and play the long tactical game. It now goes to raw pace, get the mediums out, use the best of them as he can, and hope for an ample timed safety car to maybe get another set of mediums, maybe even a soft. Maybe even if one comes out early, if you go back onto your hards. We'll wait and see what he decides. But he's really putting his foot down here, folks. He goes down the inside of FGFC. He goes wide, trying to go around out the outside of the Maverick into turn 14. We're almost 3 wide here in Singapore. Almost on hold on. Mark Wilson, I'm glad I was on board for that. Racing up through the pack. SUFC struggling. No wonder he's struggling. Oh, drama. Once again, championship leader P2 on the qualifying is now without a front wing. He's going to be into the pits, depending on what tyre strategy he goes for as well. He might not have another set of hards. 21 laps on the mediums isn't unfathomable, but it's going to be mighty, mighty hard. And if your name is Victor Mean, you are absolutely loving life right now. Mark Wilson loving it, maybe to a slightly less degree, but whoa. As things stand, folks, this championship is wide open. Curly in the pits, serving his drive through, and SFC, like I thought, putting on a set of mediums. Mighty Atom into the pits. We saw him have a spin. It'll be a set of mediums for the Scotsman and a fresh front wing. Trundles then gets the move done on Ghost Angel 1, who seemed to catch the inside wall there through turn number 8. Drops down a few positions. Now, Victor Mean, though, 2.4 seconds clear at the front. He's had rapid pace in qualifying, and he's converting that. That is the key. This is why I love Tier 4. I've said it before. I've said it again, and I've said this before. But Murphy, not another one, and he's driven into the wall trying to put it into reverse. And oh, Murphy, your Tier 4 admin member of the team. Oh, he's half bent it, and he's lost an end plate. That's going to be a pit stop for the Murphmeister on lap number 10. But I can't remember. Oh yeah, why I love Tier 4. You see drivers develop. I've seen some of these drivers develop over a number of seasons. Some of them develop over the course of this season. And particularly when they're in a championship battle, you see those that maybe have the pace on a one lap and just the consistency. Like Mark Wilson putting in the fastest lap time. Like Victor Mead as Ghost Angel 1 goes pirouetting on the exit of turn 23. But you see them improving. You see them constantly battling out and making a claim for a higher division, or making a claim for a championship battle. And speaking of battles, it's almost free wide coming out of turn 3 and 4. Marshall BX37 Pro as Wiban, as we have our first retirement of the night. It is in the pits, however, so shouldn't be yeah, it's in the pits. Sometimes it can be tricky as a commentator to spot as Ben going late on the brakes, just about keeps it within track limits. Marshall now going to try around the outside of Wiban into 8, and Wiban looks to just a lost on traction. I don't think there was any contact there, any sort of little push just to on-edge the car, on settle the car. It looks to be all clean, hunky-dory, and Wiban going for another spin tonight. These battles heating up under the moonlit sky of Singapore. Yeah, I would just, you know me, I sometimes talk at a million miles an hour and don't know what it is I'm trying to say. But that last corner, it has opportunities to lose it and spin across into the left-hand wall and cause some retirements. AFL then taking ample opportunity from Marshall, trying to make a move on BX37 Pro. Very opportunistic move from the McLaren, sees him jump up into P7. He's going to be hunting down BX37 Pro in front. Two of the more experienced drivers on this grid. Mark Wilson really taking to town those medium tyres, puts in another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. AFL then going to have DRS on Big Ben, as the veterans of the community will know him about. Don't quite make the move into turn 1, however, and these two long-standing drivers are going to battle it out, but no, they are not, because it is a full course safety car. That's caused by Hasbula. It looks, oh, we've seen this before. Oh no, I've seen this before. I believe it was Mr. James Four-Star, a good friend of mine, Tier 2 driver. He's been around in the championship battles for Tier 3, spinning on the X of 22-23. It puts you onto the curb, onto the pit lane exit, and sometimes you don't realise, sometimes you just don't think, and it disqualifies you from blocking the pit lane, and that seems to be exactly what's happened to SFC and Ghost Angel 1. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but lap 12, it's safety car number 2. So those that agreed with, I believe it was Victor Mean, saying would there be over 1.5 safety cars this race? Well, if that was your prediction, you have got it right. And well, now there are some choices. It's probably going to be, let's be honest, the pack's going to get picked up at the start of 13. It's going to be lap 15 we get racing. That will leave you with 16 laps. Now, mediums, you know, that's just over halfway length. It's doable. They're not going to be pretty by the end. Don't get me wrong by any means. They are not going to be pretty, but it could be doable. So some of the hards, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Victor Mean into the pits, and it'll be a good one to keep an eye on. Not just Spider-Rob, but Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson is opting to stay out on the mediums. Potentially the right idea. 6 lap it says in those mediums. Only 3 of those have been racing, bear in mind there, folks. 2 laps under the safety car initially, I believe it was, or maybe 1 lap, and then a couple of laps under this one. So there's not been much racing on those tyres. Victor Mean, Spider Rob into the pits then on to mediums. The Maverick following suit. The rest of them that stayed on the hards, yeah, probably understandable decision if you don't have another set of mediums especially. Stay out on the hards. Mark Wilson going for the choice to stick out on his mediums. If there is another safety car, of course, we could see another mass exodus into the pits. And it's probably, it must be said, it's maybe not the choice I would have made from the driver's cockpit. But I'm not known for being the highest quality when it comes to decision making on the grid. Whether that be any grid I've ever raced on. I probably would have pitted under his circumstances. But looking at this now, I think Mark's played a masterclass here. Because he's going to have a tyre advantage. Of course, not on the medium drivers behind him. On fresh mediums, but especially on the hards behind them, and you know these are only 2, 3, 4 laps old at most under racing conditions for him, so he's going to have a big pace advantage here. He can stretch it out, break DRS, and then of course if there is another safety car he can pit. If there isn't, well, he can pick and choose his time and go for another set of mediums, maybe a set of soft, and just try and make the most of any gap he might have. So we'll wait and see. AFL, one to watch. He's in a very, not just a very similar strategy, he's in the same strategy, except he's got 2 hard runners in front of him. Victor Mean then was your race leader, was your bull sitter, finds himself in P8, but he's got the freshest tyres of the top 9. DS Baker, 11 laps on the mediums. I'm surprised at that, because he started on the hards, did a couple of laps, he could have pit for those hards again. Yes, they're gonna be scrub tyres, but they're easily gonna make it to the end, and if there is another safety car, you've got that little bit of variety. At most, you know, maybe those are only 7 lap old, 8, 6 lap old mediums. Don't get me wrong, they're still gonna have enough life to get them to maybe 20, 21, but after that they're really gonna drop off an edge. Big ballsy call though from Scooter Clem 10. He's on the softs. Now, I can tell you for a fact these softs, they really only last full race pace 5, 6 laps if you're lucky. Mighty Atom in front into the pits. Chwunders has had a spin under safety car. Oh no, that's not what you want, my friend. Oh, and he's lost his front wing as well. Oh, and the thing is, this could be disaster for him, because the pack could be bunched up by the end of this lap, and we'll see. Penalties then. Drive through for Wuban, 3 seconds for Mighty Atom. Wuban though, we can kind of discount him as things stand at the moment, because that drive through, that's equivalent to 20 seconds, and he can't serve it under a safety car, so it's going to have to be once again. Victor Mean saying that this was a bad choice. Now, I try my best not to. Sometimes I might add in, what's the word? Inherently, unintentionally give not advice, but maybe a little tidbit here and there to some drivers. And that's just me through describing what I think they should do, what could maybe happen. And I don't want to go out there and say, oh, you should do this. But I will reassure you, Victor, I mean, your tyres can go to the end. They will just about go to the end. There is, of course, another chance of a safety car, and that completely throws everybody's strategy out the window. And every car in front of you has worn tyres. Now, the only downside to that is it's Singapore. You've got to make some overtakes here, my friend. You know, 2 of those cars might not be able to go the full length of the Grand Prix. So you've still got to make 4 overtakes by the end of this Grand Prix. That does obviously, you know, anytime you go for a move, there's potential for the danger zone, i.e. getting run out, having an incident, maybe losing it, or pushing too hard. It'll make for great racing for us. We'll wait and see. But I'm not going to give you any advice. I'm not going to give any to Trundles. Oh no, my friend, get into the pits as quick as you can. You're going to be lucky with this. It's not going to come in this lap. Mighty Atom doing you a mighty big favour and letting you come round. But yeah, Victor, I mean, don't worry about this. Sometimes you can get caught up in making a strategy call in the race and think, oh, I've done it wrong, I've done it this. You know, your strategy you started the race off, and this goes out to all the drivers. It's out the window. You've got to think on the fly, and sometimes you think of it right, sometimes you think of it wrong. We'll wait and see. The only way we'll know is when we get to the end of the race. Velociraptor? Is that? Oh, it's like Velociraptor and Rab. There you go. I got it on the fly. Literally bought a PS5 for this with the new game. Dying for a race. Well, what I can do, my friend, I will put a little invite to the CRL Cone Racing League server. If you're up for some racing on PS5 and you want CRL to be the home of that racing, we have tiers 3 and 4. This is tier 4, of course, on Monday nights, and tier 2 and 1 on Thursday night. If you just complete our little sign up procedure, I do a little pace evaluation to give us an idea. Oh, you're in the Discord already. Brilliant stuff. Well, what to do? Yeah, get the sign up, get the evaluation completed and done up. You might already be, but we'll place you in a tier. It'll be a reserve. Sadly, we've got full grids at the moment, but we'll get you hopefully some racing over the coming 4 or 5 weeks. I race with Mighty Atom every now and again. Brilliant stuff. A fellow Scotsman, then love to see it. Daniel, like I always say, anything can happen in this league, and that is the epitome of league racing. Anything and everything can happen. I've only been doing it for a couple of years now, and the amount of stupid, mental, crazy things I've seen, anything can happen. Sometimes it kills you, sometimes it makes you, sometimes it leaves you heartbroken. But at the end of the day, I love this for the hobby that is. I love waffling to you folk on a Monday night and bring a little bit of action, a little bit of love to our lovely Tier 4 drivers. And speaking of the Tier 4 drivers, Mark Wilson is about to get us underway on lap 15, about to be 16 of the Singapore Grand Prix. He did a brilliant job there, backing up BX37 Pro, catching him snoozing a little bit, and gets the jump on him and to the final couple of corners. Green flag racing then once again here in Singapore. Murphy losing out, looks to have a little bit of a half spin once again. Ben running wide through 2 and into 3 there as Wuban jumps ahead momentarily with Victor Mean. 9 lap-old hards against 3 lap-old mediums. Expect Victor to cruise on by, and that is what he does. Wuban, of course, having a drive through yet to serve. Back racing then once again. SUFC, after that incident, is going to be on the hunt back through the field to minimise his points lost to those in front. Spider Rob and Victor and Maverick, going a little bit argy-bargy, as Mr. Tony would say. Shout out to Tony Pyro for that little reference. I don't know, I'm hopefully not. Anyway, he's going to try and minimise his points lost to those around him in the championship battle. We do have, it's Ghost Angel 1 having a spin of some sorts through turns 8 and such, and maybe picking up a little bit of damage. I didn't realise Murphy was so far back. I was looking, I actually saw that as a green car, thinking is there an Aston Martin at the back there, but Spider Rob, the only one still running after Hasbulla's early retirement in his first full-time race. Let's jump up a little bit to this battle kicking on for P3. Marshall on the rear of BX37 Pro. Victor Mean, though, right in the hunt, almost pushing them round as Mark Wilson has made a 1.9, nearly 2-second gap around this first lap of the restart. BX37 Pro 2.3 adrift of AFL. So Mark really pushing out that advantage. AFL jumping through the hard runners. A couple of cars running wide in the background there as Wuban goes to serve his drive-through penalty and gets a 5-second penalty for his sins. Oh, Luke, I believe your name is. I'm sure it's Luke Wuban. Shout out to you. Apologies if it's not been your night, my friend. And sometimes it is like that. I must admit, this is my least favourite. As a driver, it's my least favourite track to race on. I have had some good results, it must be said, in Tier 2. Those have been completely on getting an alright strategy and turning the car into a boat. And just making it as wide as you can. And we've seen a little bit of that tonight. It's produced some bit of action, some bit of drama, and we're well past the halfway mark then into this Grand Prix. Speaking of mark, 2.5 seconds the gap now, 3.4 from P2 to P3. So this is what I was talking about, Victor Mean dangling up with Ben. That's what I was talking about with the older mediums versus the older hards. It gives a little bit of time and a little bit of advantage. They had to make the most of this before this man here, Victor Mean, gets clear of those old hard runners. 6 laps, fresher mediums. Yes, 6 of those laps probably weren't in racing. It's maybe only like 2 or 3, but trust me, on a circuit like this, where the temperatures and the lateral forces running through those tyres is so high, every lap makes a big difference. And Victor Mean is going to try and push to hunt down the 7 or so seconds to catch up with Mark. Of course, Mark likely to need to make another stop, as is AFL. DS Baker looks to be losing position to the Haas, having a spin. That, I must say, oh, that was a... Now, I'm not a grass, but Curly, that was a bit naughty, I must be said. As a head admin and a steward, that was a bit naughty. That may be an illegal illegal pit entry. I'm not a grass, but you know, white lines and such, jumping the curb, naughty, not so nice. Anyway, HUFC battling it out once again through the pack. Who else is in the pits? Baker, Curly, oh, Wuban, no, the 2 Hasses. You can see I'm good at that, just handling. Why do we have a safety car? What's happened now? I'm lost. Wait, so why is there a safety car? Genuinely, hold up. Can we get the VAR? Everybody, right? Make the box with your fingers, because maybe if we all do it, it'll be like, you know, what do you call them? Huckleberry, not Huckleberry Finn. Benedict Cumberbatch, that's him. What's his character called in the Marvel thing where they do the things with the hands? Maybe if we all do the VRA symbol, we'll get a replay and figure out why there is a safety car. Nonetheless, I'm waffling again. There is a safety car. Surely Mark and AFL have got to pit. Maybe not. I'm not going to... Yeah, do you know, it could be 50-50. The mediums could stretch out. Mediums to get... Oh, Mark, he sold us down the river for a kipper. AFL into the pits, though. A set of mediums easy going to go to the end. Of course, it all depends what tyres they picked. Might not have another set. Victor Mean does stay out. BX37 does stay out. The rest of the hard. Scooter Clem. Interessante, as Danny Fandango would say. Stays out 7 laps on the softs. Got to be screaming. The rest of Spider-Rob, SUFC, Marshall, all into the pits. Fresh mediums going on to all of those cars is really... no, SUFC going back onto his original hards. Victor, yeah, it's strange. I'm not quite sure what it was for. Answers on a postcard, I'm sure. I don't know if it was maybe one of the back markers having a spin and losing a wing. Who knows? Who knows? Pretty much a 50-50 split here then. Relatively new tyres for the bottom. Oh, Scott, come on, you're an engineer, use your maths. 8 drivers? Yeah? No, the bottom 9. I'm being silly. The bottom 9 drivers on pretty much fresh tyre. Oh, folks, it's been a long day and a long race yourself. The top 8 on a little bit older ones. I'm sure this race won't be clipped by anybody for the cluelessness and sort of stupidity, can we say, at times that I've shown. Let's just call it the funness. I'm like CRL's, you know, there's the 4 head admins. You've got Nathan, the strict one, Jacob, the organised one. Maybe he's not really organised. I don't know. They're like the 2 dads. They're like the mum and dad. Then you've got DC, who's like the fun uncle, and I'm like your weird cousin. That's sort of the admin team as I see it. The head admin team, at least. Yeah. I don't know. I'm waffling on. Anyway, lap 19, about to be 20. Safety car number 3. Who'd have thought that? Probably more than you would you think at other races. Victor Mean almost having a little kiss with the wall. This spices things up. This could be the moment of disaster or triumphantness for Mark Wilson. As I don't know if that was to warm the tyres or if he's trying to dupe us once again. But I love it if it is either. Looking like you'd go into the pits. Topher does go into the pits. He's going to lose a humongous amount of time. Maybe trying to avoid the double stack with Marshall, but the time in the double stack, it would have been a lot less than the time with majority of the pack grouping up for the Ferraris. But Mark, again, we look at that, it's 13 lap old mediums. It's not really, it's only about 6. So they might be able to go to the end. They definitely will actually, in fact, go to the end. It's just whether the pace drop up is going to be enough. Victor Mean has got 6 lap newer mediums, but again, they've not done the full 7 laps under racing conditions. So they are I'm saying, there's a split in the... Most of these tyres are pretty new, apart from pretty much BX37 Pro, 13 lap old hards, which I'm saying that they're the same lap ages as the mediums, and in fact they're going to be in better shape than the mediums. The only person that's on worn or dodgy tyres, it must be said, Scooter Claim in P4 on the softs, 8 laps on the softs. Even if 3 or 4 of these have been racing. Sorry, are we hold on, this is a very off. Are we at war or something? There's just a massive plethora of Chinook and Hercules, Chinook helicopters and Hercules planes just went over the top of my location. That was a really ominous sound. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but that was a really ominous noise there. And then about 3 Chinooks and a Hercules sort of flying in unison, all heading across. Well, hopefully everything's alright on the international front. Singapore, it certainly has and hasn't been. It has been in the form of some great racing, and it hasn't been in the form of a few appearances from Mr. Bert Maylander, but in some people's eyes that adds up to a little bit more fun. We'll wait and see. That Mercedes front wing is in one piece. I did see for a second when I was coming back that there was a little drop in position. I wondered, had there been a spin or a contact? It seems to be alright. Safety car is coming in this lap, however. We will kickstart on lap 21. It will give us 11 laps as racing, as Ghost Angel 1 gets a 5-second penalty for a collision with Curly, but he's in front of Curly. We'll wait and see. Mark Wilson then gets us back underway in Singapore and does, for the most part, get a decent catch on Victor Mean. Not great, it must be said, but decent enough. Holds the lead, holds about a 7/10 gap. BX37 Pro holding with them, and Scooter Claim getting left a little bit, 1.3, 1.2 the gap back. But you can see with these softs, he's going to be so much more rapid on corner exit in particular. Trunders rising up through after a few weeks off, it must be said, and trying to push up into a good position. Maverick battling it out with the mighty Atom. Spider Rob getting a 3-second penalty for track limit penalties. That will see him, could see him drop down quite a little bit. He's had a bit of a rough race, it must be said. He was up near the start, and Murphy spun again. Oh, who would have had 3 spins and 3 safety cars on the Murphy bingo? Oh, Murph, my man. You're worse than me for spinning, and that is saying something. It sounds harsh, but I know Murphy can take it, and I know he will be kicking himself. But it's gotten to see. It is really gotten to see Maverick then having a little look round about the outside of Atom. Can't quite make it stick down into 14 as the two of them come together into turn number 15, 16. It looked as if Maverick trying to go around the outside, Atom trying to move across to get a better entrance into the coming up right-hander. And that'll be one for the stewards. I'm not going to comment at this stage because, in honestly, without seeing a better on-board angle, I'm not quite sure who's at fault with that incident. It might just be a racing incident. We've seen that happen time and time again. Little incidents racking up. And speaking of little incidents, Trundles into the rear of Scooter Climb. That looks, that is an incident of the worst caliber. Scooter Climb, it looks to be suffering from some sort of connection issue, and that's caused his car to hold back and then lag forward to his original position. Now that holds him back hasn't ghosted. He's kept his car solid, and Trundle's expecting the man in front to be on the power a bit better. Oh, that is nasty to race against, it must be said. It's caused an incident in the front. That's going to tremendously affect the Williams in P5's performance going into the final part of this race. And not only that, it might hold him up because he's going to be more wary about the car in front. Regardless, you can see it there. He was so cautious on the throttle coming through across the Anderson Bridge. But my heart does bleed out for Trundles. It's nothing worse than an incident like that. That's not really your fault, especially when it isn't even the car in front's fault other than connection. Oh, the exhaust must really start to be crying. Scooter Climb, it must be said in the nicest way possible, is maybe starting to become, not just with the connection issues, but with how dead and tiresome these softs are going to be in the next few laps. It could become more of a hazard for the drivers behind, and you can see just how much they packed up. He's really acting as a bottleneck here. He is coming into the pits knowing that those tyres are in fact gone. It must be said, I don't like to make comments too much on strategy choices when I think there are maybe the poorer variety, but I think not pitting under the safety car, it was a gamble enough going on the softs. The safety car came out, it was an opportunity to go on mediums for Scooter Climb, and it was one he should have took there and then, and unfortunately it's had a little bit of an impact on not just his own but on potentially Trundle's race. Ruban having another spin on the exit of 3 and 4 as we see two-way battles here. Marshall, let's jump to this one. He's going around the inside of Trundles, can't make it work, tries the outside. That again fortunately gets pushed off of him. SFC was battling with AFL, I don't know if it was contact or a spin, but he's had a loss of time and seems to have made contact of some sort with Spider-Rob. Again, ghosting, not really doing its job here tonight. DS Baker jumps the Maverick for P10, and the battle out front is still raging on. We'll keep an eye on that gap. 6 tenths between Mark Wilson and Victor Mean, but so much happening in the midfield here that I can't possibly jump away at this time and stage. Marshall though runs wide on the exit of turn number 14 and picks up a 3-second time penalty. Could be detrimental towards the end of this Grand Prix for the Ferrari drivers. Chances at a solid points position. We'll wait and see how that does play out, however, because of course there is so much time for so much time for everything more to happen. Anything and everything. He is, however, going to try and make a move on Trundles. Trundles struggling with a little bit of wing damage here. Easy pickings, and what a gaggle of cars that is. Marshall, Trundles, FGFC and AFL. Topher gets the move on Spider-Rob further back. Spider-Rob going pretty cautious on the inside there, trying his best not to make contact happen, and does make it work. Victor Main though, oh, we've seen it happen on the reverse footing for Mark Wilson, have his races ruined by 3-second penalties. This is huge for pardon me, for Mark Wilson. Victor Mean having that 3 seconds, it gives him that cushion now, despite having the oldest tyres. We've just briefly seen there as well Trundles go for a spin. It really is a race of attrition here, folks. We've seen multiple safety cars. It can hamper your tempo, it can hamper your strategy, and sometimes it just drags that race out longer, and concentration can start to creep in. We've seen that with Victor Mean picking up a 3-second time penalty, and then we've seen it there with Trundles having a spin. I just sneezed my lung out there, but luckily you didn't have to hear it, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway, because that's just the way I roll. Ghost Angel 1 getting a move on the Maverick, who goes for a colossal spin, it must be said. Looked as if he tried to catch it, lost it back out of hope. And I never like to say it as well, but when a driver does that, you almost think, is it an intentional trying to just finish the car? Hopefully not. If you're you know, sometimes you have a bad race. Jump into the pits. Murphy, though, he's on a recovery drive, sends it down the inside into turn number 16 and gets the move done on Curly. 12 points paying positions here tonight, folks, so this is a battle worth keeping an eye on as well, because it is worth a solitary championship point. Fastest lap, of course, worth an extra point, can only go to those in the top 10. Topher trying to make a move on the stricken Trundles, of course, losing part of his front wing. Makes easy pickings of the Trundles. Not giving it back too easy, or not letting it lie down, it must be said. Having a little look on the potential switchback. Can't quite make it done. I'm going to quickly jump ahead to our leading two, however. 3 seconds is the penalty situation. Advantage Mark Wilson in that aspect. Pace-wise, though, Victor Mean looking a little bit quicker, of course. He is on fresher tyres and does seem to have a little bit more ERS. Now, we have we have 3 scenarios essentially here. Mark can defend or keep with Victor Mean long enough without getting a penalty and gets the win. Victor Mean passes Mark, pulls out a 3 second gap, or Mark gets a penalty and Victor gets the mean. Or there's a late safety car and none of anything I've just said matters whatsoever. There's yellow flags in the old Singapore sling at the Anderson Bridge. It's Murphy once again having a little spin, and unfortunately it's not been his night. Again, another driver, plenty of qualifying pace. I know he is on a lot lower assist than maybe some of these drivers, are struggling a little bit with that, and it is a tricky circuit, but I never like to see any driver do bad. I particularly don't like to see a driver that I call a good friend and of course a fellow admin. Not that there's any admin bias. There's a little bit of wheel banging goes on between Victor Mean and Mark Wilson. Mark almost driving himself off the track. What a switchback though by the Red Bull down the straight. The Mercedes are going to have DRS given a chance to pull away at the front, and Mark is going to have to settle in behind. And no rash decisions here from the Red Bull. He has, of course, got a 3 second time penalty to think about for Victor. And only needs to keep it within that gap. But Victor Mean has had pace. He has had a good presence around this circuit. So potential to pull that gap. Yellow flags have plenty going on. I'm not quite sure what that is for. Mark, though, is going to stay within DRS of this Mercedes down into turn number 14, and let him pull back a bit of a time. But Victor Mean seems to be so much more confident through the throttle, partly, of course, due to the tyre advantage, but also we just know he's got pace. You've seen it in qualifying. A little mistake there, almost looked like, though. Almost ended up in the wall. I wonder, did he touch the wall? No, he did not. That front wing still intact, and that's going to invite Mark back in to the DRS range. Daniel saying, oh, Murphy, the guy we want to do well. Murphy is the people's champion when it comes to Tier 4. He is the granddaddy of the tier. Dragon on Speed, good to see you, my friends. You've, of course, been racing in Tier 3. I hope that was a successful race. If not, onwards and upwards, my friend. A great member of the community once again. Yellow flags, and that is the Atom, mighty Atom, retiring at turn 10, and that, for the 4th time tonight, folks, it's going to be a full course safety car, and my oh my, does this spice things up. Safety car will collect the pack at the start of 28. We will do under safety car for lap number 28. Judging by the spread of the field, we might do it for 29. But at the end of 29, the safety car will have to come in, because we have to do 2 laps of green flag racing at the end of this Grand Prix. Victor Mean and the likes of Marshall, the likes of Rob, go stage 1 with penalties. This is not what they want. Penalties, 3 seconds time. It's like what we've seen with Sainz in the Australian Grand Prix. The gaps are squashed, condensed. They're going to apply more. And the pressure's probably going to mount on a few drivers now, because 2 laps are going to be racing essentially. We see, look at those back 5 all onto pretty new softs. I believe Scooter Klein picked up a 5-second speed into the pit lane penalty while I was at it, so I don't normally give advice, I don't like to do it too much, but if you're listening, my friend, if you've got another set of softs, go into the pit, serve that 5-second, and now that is for your benefit. You're going to be right down at the back, it must be said, but at least whatever positions you make, they are yours. All eyes though on these two at the front. Who is going to pit? There's a big gap to P3. Victor Mean stays out. Mark Wilson stays out. Ben stays out. Marshall stays out. SUFC rolls the dice. He has got a little bit of a gap to this could be it could be interesting. AFL does come into the pits. Topher comes into the pits, so it might be alright for SUFC. Spider Rob is going to keep on going around. Trunders is into the pits. He'll be the fixes front when DS Baker's going to keep on going round. So we're going to see majority of the grid onto fresh softs and the top 7 all on older tyres. Mark Wilson and Ben on 20 lap 1 old tyres. Of course, not all of those racing laps. Victor Mean on 15 lap old medium tyres. And I think that was a case for Mark. Now, someone might, why didn't they go in softs? They could lose track position. They might have been, I don't know if they'd quite have lost out. They would have maybe been P3 and P4, fair enough. But then they've got to overtake the cars in front, and it could throw up a bit of chaos and a bit of drama for some of them. And it could be an untold risk. Probably it was the best choice for Mark to follow what Victor does, and that's exactly what he's thinking has been there. Victor probably thinking as well, he wants the whole track position. He doesn't want to give Mark the advantage or anybody else the advantage of losing as much time as he's gonna. Yes, he'd go in the softs, he can make up time, but you're only going to make up time in fresh air. And if you're in the middle of the pack on a pack of cars and on fairly fresh tyres, you're not going to make up much time. So sometimes these obvious decisions aren't as obvious as you might think. All eyes though on, I would say, 4 drivers: Victor Mean, Mark Wilson, BX37 Pro. And I'm going to shine the spotlight on Mr. P9 at the moment, SUFC Championship leader, of course. He's going to be pushing to try and make it up through the pack. Of course, 4 drivers in front of them do have pens, so depending on how he can position his car through the latter stages. So make it 5. Marshall picks up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Spider Rob under safety, yeah, I don't get this game. Why it's given a 5-second penalty for Marshall? He's in front. That might be one for the stewards. Reminder for all drivers that our submitting time penalty related things. We've seen Mark Wilson do it successfully last week. Now, I won't say for a fact we do need race director footage. Mark's was a bit more straight cut because it was immediate 3 second and it was pretty easy to see that it was unjustified for. But if it is for getting pushed wide, if it is for particularly things to do with safety cars, 5 seconds, we need race director. So I'm going to just take this moment for a little bit of rest to notify you guys that I feel that's my duty here. I'm the custodian of Tier 4, you could say. Head admin, steward, commentator, driver, and hopefully for some something to look at, to rise up through the ranks the same way that I and a few other drivers done. And I can tell you from what we've seen tonight and the rest of this season, there are a few drivers ready here to go. It's been 29 laps, so 28 and a half technically. We've had 4 safety cars. This will be the final safety car. We are going to go green flag racing for the final time tonight at the end of this lap. And it's going to be 2 laps of just incredibly nutty, hard, mental, crazy, and hopefully clean racing. We'll wait and see. AFL, SUFC, great position to gain positions with the fresh softs and a few drivers with pens in front. Mark Wilson, BX37 Pro, potentially on with a win if they can keep within the 3 seconds of Victor Mean and not make mistakes to gain any of their self. DS Baker on for a potential podium, it must be said, if he can hold his bottle and defend from those behind. And then you've got the bottom however many, all in softs, all in rapid tyres, with nothing to lose, except for a few points they're already getting, and some of them aren't even getting any points as it stands. So that's going to be chaos. Wuban picks up 5 seconds with an incident with Trundles. Again, the car, the car in front getting a penalty for the car behind making contact maybe, but not this time. It is Wuban hitting the rear of Trundles. And BX37 Pro, even a little bit of a gap here, it seems. Whether he's trying to preemptively guess when Victor's going to go. And Victor is going to go now. Leading Mark Wilson round these final 2 corners to start lap 30 of 31. And Ben, pardon me for what I said, I've brought the gap back up. Mark Wilson does pick up a 3-second time penalty. We've seen this before, where he's lost a race in Portugal with a late penalty. Disaster for him. Victor Mean as well. SUFC is rubbing his hands at the moment. He's going to be the biggest gainer out of this. Daniel, you had right to be nervous. I was nervous as it stands for all our drivers here. We'll wait and see what transpires over the next 2 or 1.5 laps. Spider Rob chasing down Marshall. And let's have a little look at the penalties. It must be said, Marshall, 8 seconds of penalties. He's going to drop right on down. The top 2 on 3, Spider Rob on 3, Ghost Angel 1 and P8 on 5, as is Wuban and Scooter Claim, and then Maverick at the bottom as things stand on 3 seconds as well. So I'm going to need to get an abacus out to try and find out who's actually going to be man, this is nuts. To be fair, Victor Mean Mark Wilson might not drop as bad as you think. We'll wait and see. We'll worry about that in a little bit. Let's just try and catch as much of this action as I can, and they'll try and figure out who's going to finish where. HAFC, he's had a little bit of a loss in time. He's down in P11, battle it out with Ghost Angel 1. AFL is the farthest up of the soft runners. You can see the performance difference there between the softs and the older mediums. He makes a little bit of contact. I don't know, there might be some minor wing damage there to the front of the McLaren. I think maybe the Aston Martin in front is suffering some damage of some sort. This is where it gets tasty, of course. You've got difference in strategies, different tyre compounds, and maybe even difference of damage. And it's going to, what is going on? Spider Rob, what is happening with that car? Oh, he has got wing damage. That's why it's causing an absolute, not an absolute bit of chaos, but a massive bit of chaos. DS Baker's dropped down to P11 from what was essentially P6. Trundles is back up in there. Topher is looking on pretty well. Yellow flags at somewhere along the straight. I'm not actually too sure what that's for, but we are on the final lap here. It looks then as if BX37 Pro and 24 lap old hards is going to take the win. AFL may actually only end up 4th unless he can get his toe down here. It might be a Victor Mean P2, Mark Wilson P3, so they might only actually lose out 1 position, because of course Marshall has a pen. If Marshall can get his toe down and make out another second or so, he maybe only lose 1 position, maybe not even that. He might, if he can really get a good final sector here. Those we'll wait and see. Ghost Angel 1 gets disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location, which is the runoff of the Memorial Corner, turn 7 at the end of the first DRS straight, so that relegates him down. A second DSQ of the night, it must be said. Only 2 retirements though. Round of applause to our grid, it must be said. 15 of the 19 going to make it to the finish here. 2 DSQ'd for part and poor positions, 2 for incidents. But Victor Mean does round the final corner, takes the victory on track. Mark Wilson, unfortunate to come P2 with that. BX37 Pro does cross the line, but misses out on the win by 3 tenths. Mark Wilson does finish P3, AFL in P4, Trundles P5, Topher P6, Marshall finishes up 7, Baker, SUFC, Murphy, Curley, Wuban, Scooter Claim, the Maverick, and then Spider Rob going to round things off. But wow, I did not see Victor Mean taking the win. Given, oh, I don't even know. A late safety car, 3 seconds of penalties, plenty of action all around him, but he's pulled it through. I'm impressed. I'm gutted for Ben, it must be said. Gutted for Ben. What a performance he's had tonight. getting that P2 in. Mark, again, another gutting one for that. He's, you know, he was on the win until the second to last lap, and then the little mistake pulled it away from him, and yeah, disaster. But Victor Mean takes victory here. 30 points for him in Singapore. BX37 Pro takes P2 from P19 on the grid. Immense drive. Mark Wilson P3 from P9. AFL up to P4. Trundles P5. Topher P6. Marshall P7 ahead of Baker. SUFC P9 only picks up 6 points. 24 points lost to Victor Mean as things stands. 14 points lost to Mark Wilson. So, 24 points to Victor Mean. Well, that closes their gap down to 8. 14 points to Mark Wilson. That closes their gap down to 3. So FGFC, as things stand, will be 3 points ahead of Mark Wilson and only 8 ahead of Victor Mean. Murphy finishes P10 after what can only be described as a Beyblade of a performance. Curly, Wuban, the last of your points finishers, ahead of Scooter Claim, Maverick, Spider Rob, the last of the finishers. Mighty Atom and Mean Moody, both DNF, and Ghost Danger 1 and Haspla, both DSQN. And the fastest lap of the race goes to Ferrari of Marshall. I don't know about you folks. I'm knackered. What a couple of what a couple of hours this has been. And it has been a couple of hours of non-stop action. Do you know what? We never done it last week, and I feel kind of bad. Let's add in a few of our drivers, namely Mark Wilson, BX37 Pro, and Victor Mean. We'll get a few of them in. I hope you can still hear me while I'm doing this. Hopefully so. Let's see, Victor Mean. I just have to bear with me while I do this, by the way, folks. This will take me a couple of seconds just to add them to our little chat party. But while I'm doing that, those that are still here, it's going to be a tricky vote this week for driver of the day. Mark Wilson put in a solid performance. FGFC pole to race victory with a few little things in between. And of course, Ben going P19 to P2. So there is ample choices for your driver of the day. I would love to see who you 11 that have joined us once again tonight, who you feel it was. Gonna get our first of our drivers in though, and it's a bit of a legend in the CRL community. Formerly known as Big Ben, now known as BX37 Pro. He's in for a little chat tonight. Ben, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It was pretty intense start from the back of the grid.
Yeah, I was about to say, starting from the back P19 out of the 19 all the way up to P2. I think it was 24 laps on the hards.
Yeah.
What a performance that was, mate.
Yeah, it was decent. I wasn't feeling confident at all at this track, but I won here before in season 3. But yeah, no, it was a decent P2. I'll take it. Could have got P1, but Victor Mean was just too quick. But overall, yeah, good result. 19 tomorrow, so I can celebrate, relax, be happy, so it's all good.
Well, on behalf of everybody at CRL, for tomorrow, wish you a very, very happy birthday. It could almost been the dream birthday present ahead of it. But yeah, P2, like you say, from P19, 3/10, I think the gap was at the end.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I'm looking to season 9. I'm looking to win tier 4. Obviously, I've gone like all assists off and that now, so obviously it's a lot harder. If I want to have the pace, the practice has got to be done. If you know what I mean.
Absolutely, you can't just rock up half an hour before, turn the game on and battle it out. But to do Singapore like that, no penalties, 3-second penalties for corner cutting. I don't think you had any incidents. If there was, they were pretty minor. Any half spins or anything. Solid drive, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
And I suppose a little thing, Austria next week. How are you feeling for that? A very different track, it must be said, but a little confidence boost after tonight.
I mean, I'm not too sure because some tracks on F1 I haven't actually raced at all. Obviously, I only race tracks that I've got a upcoming league race for, so I'm pretty new to the track with no assist, but we'll see next week how everyone does with their pace.
Absolutely. Oh, well, Ben, happy birthday for tomorrow. Congratulations on tonight, and best luck for the rest of the season. We'll quickly jump then to the race winner, and it must be said, an active commentator, that's the word, during the race. Victor, you must be ecstatic after that. That must have been a roller coaster of emotions for you, mate.
I'm knackered, man. I'm tired. Happy birthday, Ben. Happy birthday, Ben. I'll say that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh man, it was that last lap. I think I'm so lucky, Mark. I mean, I don't know if he had many warnings or anything, but yeah, I 3/10 or something like that. But I think I just got lucky towards the end of that. But it was a fun one. I was able to type in the chat because I was trying to burn fuel off. So I was going super slow. I was just typing one-handed, nervous. You know.
Fair enough. Yeah, that into the Grand Prix, I thought the 3-second penalty for you, it really puts a curveball. Obviously, you had the pace advantage. We'll talk about qualifying in a second, but you had the tyre advantage as well. Then, of course, the late safety car. You're thinking this pack's going to be bunched up. It's going to be hard to pull a 3-second gap, let alone, even though you were track position ahead, you've only got 2 laps to do it. And then Mark, I believe it was the exit of turn 2, entry to turn 3 on the second to last lap, got his third warning and the first pen. I've seen it a couple of times from Mark. He normally joins the party. He's not joined tonight, and to be honest, I don't blame him. I don't think he's got many nice words to say about anything that's going on. He'll be thoroughly disappointed again tonight. But no, congratulations, mate. Because with 3 laps to go, I had you pegged down for coming about 7th with those pens. But through a little bit of maybe chaos and drama at the back and a solid couple of laps from yourself, you managed to pull it up to the start. A little bit of change fortune around the street circuits though from the last time, mate. You mentioned it yourself as well. Another solid qualifying performance. It would actually had you P2 and tier 3, so
to say that, I had about 7/10. I had an extra 7/10 in that second lap. I lost them in I think just at the start of the third sector and managed to make it back, so I probably would have been about a second, maybe
Hello.
1.1 up, so I was pretty bummed out to crash in my next attempt, but
yeah,
I was very worried.
I saw that, I was watching, I saw that.
I can't wait for first night, so if we take a set, that's middle, that is low 37s, high 36s.
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking at the tier 2, maybe even tier 1 qualifying times and see if we can compare to them. I think we've got to get you up for next season, mate.
I would say
we'll
that.
swap.
I mean,
me and you will do a direct swap.
Well, you said Austria was next week, right?
Austria's next week. Yep.
That was my first ever remember the practice race that's at the start of the year last year in tier 3. People had me in the predictions as most best rookie or something, and I binned it in the first lap, bleeding P1, and then I don't think I ever had a podium in that tier. So I don't really love Austria, so we'll see what happens. But SUFC finishing solos is nice for a change. But yeah, Mark was rapid. Even I don't know what the percentage was in his tires. It must have been very high because he was.
Yeah, he was on them for a long time. Yeah, he was on them for a while.
Yeah,
he was hards, man. 24 laps or something, right? That's probably how I was able to pull away. But I just, it was a good race, very fun one. But that last safety car bummed me out. I want to know who did it.
Yeah, that last safety car saved my race. IR Marshall was on my back 24/7. I had to take off my top of my trousers. I stripped. I was so hot. I couldn't deal with it. I was pushing too hard. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy.
Got the fan on.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I think Mark was a similar lap counter to you, Ben. 24, of course. On the mediums, the percentage is going to be a bit higher.
Yeah.
Granted, I think there was 4 safety cars in those 24 laps, so not all racing, but it still takes its
I believe
wear.
on the third safety car, I was thinking, should I pit on the mediums or should I stick it out on the hards? And everyone behind me went in the mediums, but I wanted to keep track position. I was sitting in third, you know what I mean? I wanted to keep it. So I took the risk, and obviously it paid off.
Well, it certainly has paid off. I think there was only one real thing I've got to ask you, I suppose, Victor. I've done the quick maths, and don't take this for factual. There's 8 points separating you, SUFC, and Mark Wilson.
Sheesh!
You're granted you're the third of those, but 8 points after tonight.
Yeah, that's tight.
I remember saying
It's
after...
like season 4 all again.
Exactly.
Ryan Mills and Jay Wills.
Ryan Mills, Jay Wills, of course.
Was it after America you asked me, did I think I could win? And it was right before the break. And I said, no, it's too early. And the gap's too big. Now, I'm not saying anything. We'll see what happens.
Keeping his cards close to the chest. I genuinely, I can't pick a winner out of the three reviews. We know FUFC is consistent, and then he does have bad races, so he misses a few. Mark Wilson is rapid and is prone to the odd mistake. You are either Thunder or
Qualifying
nothing.
king.
You're one lap pace, or it's a race of turmoil. It seems you've been making a habit of getting on the podiums, so.
I know. Just seeing Danielle in the chat always gives me, it's an extra cheerleader. It hurts. Where's mine? That's why I'm in the chat, because I need to see myself take a job. I need that. I need to get my mom or something.
No, no disrespect to my best commentator.
No, of course.
I'm thinking, Daniel, how about this? Whenever I'm solo comms, would you like to join me in the co-comms? Because you're here every week anyway. Get an extra mic on. That could be a good shout, actually. Thanks for that idea, Victor.
Pitbull of Danielle, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, we've got this cracked for season 9. We've got this sorted. Yeah. But
everyone brings along a family member or something. That'd be fun.
That's it. I could just phone them up halfway through the race, see what the inboard reaction is.
You hear Mark raging in the background. That'd be fun.
Phone up certain members, just get their ma, tell me they're raging. That'd be a good bit. A good bit of fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 4 rounds. It's like you say, Ben. It's very similar. Season 4, Millsy and Willsy. Season 5, AFL and Hedge, and I believe it was even season 3 where Unit involved in a little championship battle with Warrior Huntsman.
Warrior, yeah. That was it was a good one back. I was on controller in that season, but obviously now I race on the wheel. But yeah.
Tier 4, it's got a habit of producing brilliant championship fights, and this one is certainly going to be no different. I think we'll round up here though, folks, because you've heard me waffle for literally 2 hours now on my own, and I don't think I've stopped talking.
That's what you do best, Scott.
It's my I think it's a good one to listen back to, because there was moments of absolute pure chaos, pure confusion. There was helicopters flying over the house. There was safety car. Why is that happening? And then just me talking about the absolute most random nonsense. So if you need to kill 2 hours tomorrow.
The strange comment was on, you were saying about the VAR and Benedict Cumberbatch. I was like, Doctor Strange?
That's the one, yeah.
Doctor Strange. Yeah,
yeah, I just thought...
The safety car was strange, but it was about Doctor Strange, One hand.
I was wondering, we all do the little hand signals, make the magic happen, and we'll get a VAR. I don't know, I was just trying to fill here. But, yeah. We'll round it off here then, folks. Thanks to Ben and Victor for joining us for a little chat. It's always good to hear from our drivers. Congratulations to everybody that raced tonight. 15 years making it to the end is superb. I've been CRL Freefall. Make sure to check Thursday night for Tier 1 and Tier 2, Jonathan and Indigo back once again, Tier 1 and Tier 2, 7:30, 8:30 respectively. I'll be back here 8:15 next week. Indigo, of course, will lead us off for the Monday night action, 7:30 for the Tier 3 Austria race. Ben, enjoy your birthday tomorrow. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of your week, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.